Dear viewers, welcome to my channel. Today's topic is magic. Magic has always been very fascinating and mysterious. It amazes, thrills, entertains, and scares us all at the same time. Performers of these amazing acts put their best efforts and dedicate countless hours to make these acts flawless. Unfortunately, sometimes things do go wrong. Acts can fail and make the magician ashamed, or the magician can injured. In the worst case, it costs the magician their lives. Today's video is all about magicians who lost their lives while performing magic tricks. However, before watching this video, don't forget to subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon to enjoy more interesting videos. One of the performers who died was Rayburn Joseph Gilbert Rayson de la Genesta, better known by his performance named Genesta. He more or less swiped his signature trick from Houdini, who first performed it in 1908. The idea behind the trick was simple and extremely attractive to audiences. During his act, he locked himself in a milk can or barrel filled with water, from which he would magically escape. But on one fateful day in 1930, things went wrong, and the magician failed to make his escape in time. When his assistants realized that something had gone wrong, they closed the stage curtains and called a doctor. His assistants pulled him out from the tank. He was unconscious but still alive. He was then rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. He passed away after telling the doctor that, in more than 10 years of performing the trick, he had never failed before. Apparently, the milk can which Genesta used during his final performance was dented. This limited the space he had to mold his body in order to make his escape, which became the cause of his death. Also during an escape trick, 23-year-old magician Rayburn lost his life on July 7, 1984. He was practicing an escape trick that he planned on performing later that afternoon for the Winona Lake Bible Conference. The trick involved escaping from shackles while being submerged in a lake. Unfortunately, Hooper would not make it. While rehearsing the stunt, Hooper handcuffed himself and jumped into Winona Lake outside Fort Wayne, Indiana. Then he swam out about 100 yards from the shore. When finding himself unable to free himself from the shackles, he surfaced and yelled to his assistant for help. But due to heavy winds, rescuers were unable to reach Hooper in time. He tragically drowned in 1.6 meters of water. Amazing Joe, or Joseph W. Burrus, was impressed with the greatest magician of his time, Harry Houdini, and wanted to be even greater than his idol. On the night of Halloween 1990, the 64th anniversary of Houdini's death, the 32-year-old magician was buried alive in a plastic coffin at an amusement park, before a crowd including his own children. Burrus, aka Amazing Joe, had successfully performed the trick a year before. However, at that time, he was buried only by dirt. In 1990, he added cement to the mix and apparently didn't take into account the extra weight. His plastic coffin was crushed immediately. Rescuers began digging upon hearing the coffin collapse, but Burrus was already dead by the time they got to him. In June 2019, Indian magician Chanchal Lahiri, also known as Wizard Mandrake, was trying to perform a famous trick when something went wrong. Eyewitnesses said Lahiri, dressed in a bright red and yellow costume, had his arms and legs bound with ropes and chains and was lowered into the Hooghly River in Kolkata. He was expected to resurface just moments later, but he wasn't seen again until the following day, when authorities pulled his body out of the river. According to the experts, Lahiri made several mistakes, including underestimating the current and wearing clothing and gear that would have hindered his ability to swim. Another magician killed during her performance was a female performer named Madame Delinsky. She and her husband were a magic duo who toured Europe in the early 19th century. One of their most sensational tricks involved Madame Delinsky facing a firing squad of soldiers and coming away unscathed after catching all the bullets. This was achieved by instructing those on the firing squad to load their guns with bullets that they secretly tore open, emptying the gunpowder and making them into blanks. In 1820, Madame Delinsky, who was pregnant at the time, performed the bullet-catching trick in Germany for the royal family. A member of the firing squad accidentally put a real bullet in his gun and shot Madame Delinsky through the abdomen. The infant inside her was immediately killed, and she tragically died 2 days later. Another magician who died during a bullet-catching trick was Chung Ling Soo, whose original name was William Ellsworth Robinson. Robinson was most famous for also a bullet-catching trick. Robinson performed the trick using a gun with two barrels. One took the real bullet he showed the audience for effect, the other held a blank. On March 23, 1918, during a routine performance, Robinson shot himself for real by accident. On his death day, the blank lit accumulated powder, which exploded and fired the real bullet in the second chamber. The next on our list is the 24-year-old Sri Lankan Janaka Basnayake, who died during an attempt to beat the world record for longest time buried alive. Even though Basnayake wasn't a professional, he got his family to bury him in a pit 3 meters or 10 feet deep and then cover it with soil and wood. He was buried for 7.5 hours before being dug up. They found him not breathing and took him to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The sad thing is, the Guinness Book of World Records doesn't even recognize this record because it's too dangerous, and they don't want people even attempting it. Born in Helsingborg, Sweden, magician John Miller or Balabrega went to America in 1868 with his family. In January 1900, Balabrega made a tour to Brazil for showing off his magical skills to the audience there. He bought the mouth and the flame illusion from one of his fellow performers, Harry Raukler. For this pyrotechnic vanishing trick, Balabrega had to be very careful because it needed gas bags of acetylene. During that act, a gas bag exploded and Balabrega and his assistant, Lou Bartlett, both died on the spot. Sigmund Neuberger was a German-born magician who moved to the US in 1872. Sigmund lost his life while presenting his famous trick, the Lion's Bride. He loved animals, but loved his terrier Beauty most of all. 4 days before the opening of his show in Edinburgh, Beauty died. Sigmund made a deal with the city council that he would allow his own body to be buried there when he died if they would consent to burying Beauty in the nearby Piershill Cemetery. On the opening night of the show, there was a fire while he was performing his signature trick. He managed to escape from the building, but ran back inside to save a horse that was part of the show. Sigmund and 10 others died and his body was laid to rest beside his beloved dog. Dr. Vivian Hensley was one of the amateur magicians who lost their lives while playing with dangerous blades. Using a very sharp blade was a part of the trick, and this Australian magician lost his life when he was trying to swallow such a blade. We will conclude our list here, but there are countless other magicians who lost their lives during performances. Let me know in the comments if you would love to hear more like this. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, as this helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm.